Take your plans out of the group chat and get long weekend ready in new Abercrombie. From day to night, pack new outfits for every part of your itinerary. Grabbing brunch? Throw on the A&F Mila dress. Then head to your dinner reservation in their new bubble hem mini dress. And yes, permission to overpack for pics with the girls. Abercrombie's best-selling Scarlet Squirt deserves a post in your feed. Your plans are worth it. Shop Abercrombie's new long weekend collection online or in store.
I think I just won my taxes.
Yeah?
I just switched to H&R Block in about 1 minute. All I had to do was drag and drop last year's return into H&R Block, and bam, my information is automatically there.
So I don't have to go digging around for all my old papers to switch?
Nope.
Sounds like we just leveled up our tax game.
Switching to H&R Block is easy. Just drag and drop your last return. It's better with Block.
It's always a good time to celebrate your team. With designs for every occasion, Starbucks cards are the perfect thank you for employees and clients alike. Did you know that you can easily order gift cards in bulk directly from Starbucks at starbuckscardb2b.com? Give your team the recognition they deserve with a gift they're sure to use. They're thoughtful gifts for special occasions, events, or just because. With digital, physical, and customizable card options, gifting is made easy through starbuckscardb2b.com.
Hi, this is Debbie, your Blinds.com design consultant.
Oh, wow. A real person.
Yep, I am here to help you with everything, from selecting the perfect window treatments to...
Well, I've got a complicated project.
Oh, not a problem. I can even schedule a professional measure and install. We can also send you samples, fast and free.
I just might have to do more.
Oh, okay.
So the first room we're looking at is for guests.
Shop Blinds.com now and save up to 45% on select styles. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Hi there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode 710. 710 of these puppies in the books now of the DBR podcast, the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason Evans here with you. My buddy Donald Wine is joining me as well. If you haven't listened to episode 709 about Duke blowing out Baylor, then what are you doing listening to this one? You need to go back and listen to that one. But you probably already heard all we had to say about that. For this episode, Donald, we are bringing on a frequent guest that we've had this season, Jordan Brenner of The Athletic, of the Underdogs podcast on DraftKings. Jordan, welcome to the show again. How you doing, buddy?
Missed you guys. Glad to be back. Glad we still have something to talk about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just do this every week, maybe. We'll just kind of
that would be
as is, right? As we go along, we'll see if we
great.
need you back. Yeah.
Yes. No promises. Let's just
keep on playing. You keep on Duke keeps on playing. We keep on getting more Jordan. That's not a bad thing. Jordan, let's start just with your general thoughts about what Duke did over the weekend as they blow out two opponents, blowing out a 16 seed. Not a huge surprise. Blowing out a team like Baylor, a roster that has a number of NBA prospects on it, a team that gave Houston fits only a couple of weeks ago, a pretty darn good ball club that seemed, other than the first 10 minutes or so, no match for Duke the rest of the way.
Yeah. Obviously it's an impressive win. I'm not sure how much it tells us going forward that we already didn't know. What's interesting is it's funny in some ways that this game actually revealed a couple potential weaknesses for Duke going forward. I know it sounds silly after winning by such a margin, but if you kind of dig deeper into the way the game was played, you can see a couple potential issues.
I mean, you have to continue talking about that, right?
Now you want me to explain them? Oh,
let me
hold on. You paused.
Let me
there,
venture
and
to
I'm
guess here.
Well, I didn't want to talk too long. I'm told by many people that I drone on, and I wanted to hear from Donald and you, but fine. Okay. First one, they give up 18 offensive rebounds
That was my guess.
to Baylor. Some of these, a couple were just bad bounces, bad luck, but you heard Scheyer refer to it as a two-hand game, right? When they cut to him with CBS, and it was a little concerning that okay, maybe a more physical team can cause some issues for them. And by the way, Arizona, really good offensive rebounding team as well, top 20 in the country in offensive rebound percentage. We'll get to that later. So, Scott Drew after the game said something about if you told them, they'd out offensive rebound Duke 18-3 and only turn it over 5 times, he'd feel pretty good about where they were. Now, the reason that he can't feel pretty good about where they were is Duke shot 64%, including 12 for 22 from 3, and Tyrese Proctor missed 1 shot. Okay? That's amazing. It's also unsustainable. So,
although Tyrese, past 3 games, Tyrese has been unsustainable for 3 games in a row now.
And he was 0 for 10 before that. Shooting comes and goes.
Right. Yes.
It just does. I've said this a million times in March, by all means, it is a great thing that Duke is such a good shooting team. And and even more than they're such a good shooting team, they have so many individual good shooters. So we've talked about on a night where Knipple and Proctor are cold, maybe Evans gets hot, or, maybe Cooper's hot from 3. Put that aside for a second. The safest Giants in college basketball have lots of ways to win and don't rely on shooting. When they shoot well, they blow teams out. When they don't shoot well, they can find another way to win. I think that's going to be the question, not just for Duke, by the way, for every top team, is what can you do on a night when you're cold? Because if this team is hot, no one's beating them. Is that fair?
Yeah, but real quick, right? You kind of talked about how cyclical this shooting has been, right? Tyrese Proctor goes cold, then it gets hot. At the same time, he kind of gets hot. Isaiah Evans gets cold, right? Is there a game that do you feel that they still have a game in them where everybody is kind of shooting well and it's not limited to just a couple of guys? Or do you think that this team just kind of says, okay, these guys are hot, let's feed them the rock and we can continue to contribute in other ways?
I don't know that you'll ever have a game where everybody's on fire the same day. I being the person I am, worry far more about the day when no one can hit a shot, because I've seen too many of those, not only in Duke's history, in everyone's history. By the way, I grew up a Knicks fan, so John Starks will be forever in my head. I haven't rooted for them in 20 years. I'm non-biased. I cover the NBA, but I have to throw that in there, right? It's the ultimate kind of problem with a one and done format. Shooting, there's such variance in shooting in basketball. I would take this Duke team in a 7-game series against anyone. I really, really would. I don't want to go too far afield and too much into the feels and stuff, but from this point on, Duke can lose any night it plays. That's just a fact. Someone plays really well, Duke plays poorly, they can lose. At this point, whatever happens in the tournament, I hope doesn't take away from what this team has done as a whole. Too many people
they are historically good.
Yeah.
That's just period, end of a story.
Too many people just measure a team's success by what they do in the tournament, and I just don't think that's fair. And honestly, I feel like people would come down on this team if they made the Final Four and lost there. It's the nature. I know the Duke administration wouldn't, thoughtful people would be like, this team's great, this program is on the upswing, things are working really well. I also know that the team is competitive as hell, and if they lose, of course they're going to be upset. I'm trying to wire myself differently as a fan of sports to not focus as much on the destination, but the journey. This team, if you're a Duke fan, has provided so many months of pure joy that if a game manifests and somebody turns an ankle again and someone goes 0 for 10 and someone goes 1 for 9, I hope that people can understand that part of what makes March what it is the total randomness involved.
So when you think about going back to the offensive rebounding, and you mentioned that being kind of, we've talked about it on this show where there's been a few games where teams have gotten 10, 15, sometimes 20 offensive rebounds against us. What do you think is the cause behind these lapses in offensive rebounding? Is it positioning? or is it just, something else?
Well, I mean, first things first, Duke's a top 40 defensive rebounding team in the country. So by and large, this hasn't been like a consistent problem. I think there are certain types of teams that are very much oriented towards going to the glass. Physical. Look, they had problems with Omer, not just on the glass, but straight post-ups. And I think we've seen this as teams are trying to figure out how to attack Duke. One of the things they've been doing for a while is they'll go straight at Malawach. I think that his help defense is better than his on-ball defense right now. He can still sort of get shoved out of position. He's still skinny. He can still get shoved out of position a little bit. In some ways, I think Gongba is actually a little bit better just purely guarding the post one-on-one. It's also where they miss Malik Brown. Let's be honest about that. So rebounding, it's just at this level, they're big enough, they're athletic enough. They've got to get 5 guys on the glass. The ball's got to bounce the right way. It's not like the Coach K Duke teams that were playing the passing lanes and gambling for steals and willing to trade off offensive rebounds as a result. That's not this team's defensive scheme. So I don't think there's anything systemic that needs to change. It's just got to be all-out commitment to boxing out, getting a body on guys, going to get the ball.
Hey, Jordan, I got a quick question. We've talked about the journey and not being focused on, hey, how far did they go in the tournament? Give me a number. Odds. What do you think is the percent chance that this Duke team wins the whole thing? And I'll go ahead and say, prior to the tournament starting, Duke was about a 3.5 to 1 pick, in Vegas to win the title. 3.5 to 1, which is about, close to 33%, a little below that. And someone said to me, "Oh, you're really confident about Duke. You should really bet them." And I'm like, no, I think that around 30% or so that's about the number. And that's super confident Duke fan, 30% that they're going to win the title. Where are you right now on them? Do you think that that's about the right number? Is it higher, lower?
Maybe. I mean, I guess right now at DraftKings, for instance, they're plus 230 to win the title. That's implied odds of 30.3%, right? I think, yeah, the market's probably pretty close. I can think of them as the favorite to win the title, and you still would have to take the field, right? Like, it's just there's so there's a difference between gambling and what I would bet versus sort of like what I feel could or may happen, right? If I had to take one team, I would still take Duke, but obviously, yes, we would all take the field over Duke. I can't put an exact number on it. I guess I would say the market is probably about right. It's hard, man. It's hard for UConn made it look easy the last 2 years, but it is hard. Like, there's just so many crazy things that can happen. And especially, by the way, being a 5-foul sport instead of a 6-foul sport there's just way less margin for error. Like, you don't see foul trouble as nearly as big an issue in the NBA as it is in college basketball. 2 fouls is nothing in the NBA. 2 fouls, you get it in the first half. Most coaches are sitting you the rest of the half. Like, it's just a very different animal. So foul trouble, injuries, poor shooting, and that's just the random stuff. Then you get into the particular matchups, the physicality. I will tell you this. I would feel a lot better about Duke's chances if I knew that Malik Brown could make it back, for all the reasons we've talked about in prior episodes about that he's like this skeleton key almost that unlocks a completely different way of playing at both ends. And gives you, if it were a poker game, Malik Brown gives you more outs. It's more ways to play. It's more three-headed monster in the post. It's a guy you can switch. If drop coverage isn't working well, you change the way you play defense. They've talked about how they like to, I think Scheyer phrased it as play catch with him on the perimeter. Basically, he's such a good passer that they cut off him. I would still be really surprised based on my own extent as an elite athlete myself, having dealt with 2 shoulder dislocations. Scheyer's comments weren't particularly, he didn't write off Malik. It's just, they weren't particularly encouraging, and they haven't spoken about it in a few days, but I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be a long shot to get him back, which takes a little wind out of my sails.
Hey, let's get to Arizona for a moment. You watched the Wildcats. Sorry. Go ahead, Donald. Go.
Okay. So let's get to the Sweet 16. We have Arizona coming up, who we beat earlier in Tucson, and they're obviously a different team than what we faced back in November. But what about their game do you think will be difficult for Duke to deal with on Thursday?
Right. Yeah, certainly both teams are different, right? I mean, in that game,
Mhm.
Isaiah Evans and Pat Gunga didn't even play. Caleb Foster was still the starting point guard. Malik Brown was healthy, right? That's the Duke
Right.
side. For Arizona, Krivas was their starting center. He's injured. He's out, right? So the teams have changed. What do I think is the biggest challenge, or what? Which way do you want me to look at this?
Yeah, like I mean, what do you think about them that has changed that poses, the biggest challenge for Duke on Thursday?
Well, I think they're dangerous, right? Like they have weapons. Obviously, Carter Bryant has improved a lot since then, and Caleb Love scares the crap out of me. Like we've seen it too many times. Going back to his Carolina days. Obviously, he's a bit of a mercurial player, but has the ability to get really hot from the perimeter. He's an excellent athlete. He can attack the rim. You saw what he did against Oregon last game. So like you want as an underdog, you want variance, right? Well, Caleb Love is one of the ultimate variance guys, and his upside is such that it should concern Duke fans. They have plenty of perimeter athleticism. I don't love their interior. I'm not sure they're going to be able to attack the post the way Omier did for Baylor, but they've got a lot of options. It's a good team, and I know we can dig into certain stats. Obviously, the offensive rebounding is concerning. The flip side, most of their games against top 25 Ken Palm teams, except for this weird exception of beating Texas Tech twice, they have lost most of those games against top opponents, but they've obviously played a way better schedule than Duke. They've seen Duke before. Now, Duke went into their house and won by 14 points. But again, like there's something about having been through a team once already that maybe you're less intimidated and you feel like you know the personnel better. So I think they'll come in ready to play.
So, Jordan, as we continue to talk about Arizona just for a second, you were talking about the Norchad Omier and the problems he gave to Duke. In Arizona's most recent game, Toby Awaka, who's a guy who's kind of built very similarly to Norchad Omier, did a really nice job. This is a Arizona team that has a lot of different weapons, and they play fairly deep. I mean, other than like Jaden Bradley and Caleb Love, they just got a bunch of guys who are all playing right around 20 minutes a game. Who's the guy other than Caleb Love? And you mentioned that. Is there someone else that you really worry about? You're like, if Duke loses this game, it's going to be because that guy went off.
No, I think Love is that guy. Now, there are plenty of other players who can give them big contributions on a given night. I would worry about Carter Bryant in terms of a guy who is sort of coming into his own a little bit. He hasn't had that explosion game yet. Like he had 12 in the first round against Akron. He played about half the game in each Big 12 tournament game. He had like 7 and then 5 and then 6. But, he's a good mid-sized athlete. Upside, he's been hitting about half his threes over the past couple weeks.
He's a rim protector too. He's been really blocking shots lately. I noticed that about him.
Yep, just as sort of a weak side helper. I don't worry about the one thing about Arizona that does help Duke is they're not a great 3-point shooting team as a crew. So you hope that forcing them, even when they generate an open 3 off stuff, they're not like a knockdown automatic team. So I think that helps them. I also don't like, in terms of Awaka, I think Omir's a better scorer.
Yeah.
Omier obviously, Awaka didn't do anything the first time they played. Obviously, only played 12 minutes. He was obviously very good against Oregon last night, except for the foul trouble. But like, he's not a guy who's going to be like your primary on offense. They're not going to play through him. I think first and foremost, it's got to be one of those old school Coach K game plans where he takes the best player out of it. You got to focus on Caleb Love early and don't let him get rolling.
Yeah, and I mean, Caleb Love against Duke, it's like they're married at the hip. The history.
Don't say it, Jason. Don't do it.
The history here is really something amazing when you consider how many times we've played against him, how many big games he's had, how many bad games he's had. It's you cannot write his 5-year history in college without mentioning this one team that he plays against and has had big and bad moments. So it's not just big moments, Donald.
We don't like to talk about the big moments.
No, we do not. All right.
Right.
Jordan, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, going to expand out a little bit, look at the rest of the bracket. You are the expert on bracket busters. We're going to find out why there haven't been very many of them. Stay with us.
Wow, this house is cute. But can I really get in the game in this economy? I do have savings, and I am responsible-ish. Ugh, I should bury it. I'm being wild. But what if I'm not being wild, though? Could I actually score a...
Kick off your home buying journey with Zillow's new BuyAbility tool. It makes it easy to find out what you can afford, so you can get off the bench and onto the playing field with confidence. Check your BuyAbility, only on Zillow.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
The kids are still at practice, and I have no idea what's for dinner.
You can get a rotisserie chicken and 2 sides for just $15 in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Who said that? Who's in my house? Don't play with me, because I'm not the one.
It's just your friendly Walmart announcer. This is a commercial.
Oh, okay. You were saying dinner for a family was just $15?
Yep. It'll be at your door by the time you get the kids home from practice. Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Subject to availability. Restrictions and fees apply.
Now that was a helpful commercial.
All right, folks, we're back from the break. Donald and Jason here, once again joined by Jordan Brenner of the Underdogs podcast, called that because you are the guy who's the expert at picking underdogs, finding bracket busters. Jordan, tell us what has happened in this tournament that we are in a Sweet 16 without a single team from outside of the 4 power conferences. Not even a Big East team is left. It's like ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC. The 4 conferences that pay the most are the 4 conferences that remain. Did I just answer my own question? I think I did.
Yeah, I mean, we define an upset as it has to be a 5 seed difference, right? So last year in the first round alone, there were 7 bracket breaker upsets that meet our criteria. This year there were 3. It was 2 12s, Colorado State, McNeese, and an 11 in Drake. Now, our model was pretty good. Those were 3 of our highest upsets. In fact, Drake, we sort of been on since December saying was our favorite upset team. The matchup wasn't as good as it could have been, but we nailed that one. We nailed McNeese in particular. But yeah, otherwise it's been incredibly hard going for the underdogs. You saw that in the next round too. You've got 1 double-digit seed remaining, and it's that noted underdog of limited resources, John Calipari. So, it's
right.
I mean,
like the only 10 seed is like one of the top 10 NIL payrolls in the sport.
Right.
Cinderella shoe is a Louboutin right now.
Exactly. So what we're left with is the question of, is this a 1-year blip, or is this evidence of a sea change in college basketball as NIL and the transfer portal not only become more prevalent but more refined and teams get better at it. We've talked about this. It's just a fact that it is going to become harder and harder for mid-majors to retain their best players. As long as you allow annual free agency and teams can be contacting, they're contacting these players or their agents during the season. You see a kid at, pick a school, Long Beach State, and he's averaging 15 and 10. Someone from a power conference is going to be talking to that guy about, hey, come here next year, more money, more exposure, more whatever. Why would you stay at this point at a lower level school? So that's, at that point, I don't know what the right number of upsets to expect every year is, and maybe there's still some randomness, but it sure feels like the gulf is going to increase between even the lesser teams in the power conferences and the best mid-majors.
Even within the fact that it was kind of chalky, right, for lack of a better word, this bracket so far, you had the couple upsets. Jason, you and I talked about this last night, but there hasn't been a lot of one shining moments, right? There's been only one buzzer beater. Most of the games may have been tight, but they weren't like, there wasn't a moment, right, that captivates everyone and gives you a did you see that type of water cooler talk that you can have today. Is there a reason for that? Is that just how the tournament has fallen, or again, is that indicative of something more?
I think it's part of the same thing. So like you didn't have a lot of near upsets in the first round. The only one that really like qualified was the Michigan UC San Diego game. That was pretty close down to the wire. Otherwise, you had a lot of blowouts. Now, what the flip side of a chalky bracket, if you don't get the early upsets, you get a great Sweet 16 and beyond. So you get all these marquee matchups. So it just may be this year that we've talked about there being a big gulf between the top 6 teams and everybody else, which I think is still true. And we saw that with St. John's being the 2 seed that lost, and Michigan State kind of struggling with New Mexico, right? I think there's a gap, no question. So that's part of it, right? If those 6 teams are that good, you're not gonna have real challenges until they maybe get to the Sweet 16. But then again, some of these second round matchups, you had your close games. You had the Maryland Colorado State game. You had the BYU Wisconsin game, which was fantastic. Arizona, Oregon. Those are just like
look. The Auburn Creighton game was a very competitive game until the final few minutes. Yeah,
sure. But it's just I think it's more conventional this year. Like the best teams are playing well. There is a gap, but I think now that we get to the Sweet 16, all bets are off.
If you had to make Final Four picks right now, man, you still sticking with like the 1 seeds? Where are you?
I mean, I'm really tempted to go all 1 seeds. I would, again, if I had to pick, certainly Florida at this point. Although,
I mean, you want to talk about close games. They were with 3 minutes to go. They looked like they were going to lose to UConn.
Sure thing. I don't think Maryland. I mean, Maryland starting 5 is strong. No bench. Maryland could beat them. I think Florida's better. Texas Tech's interesting if they get healthy. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would still go Florida in the West. I would still go Auburn in the South, again, mostly because I'm not super high in any of the remaining teams, Michigan, Michigan State, or Ole Miss. I'll still ride with Duke in the East. Again, I'm not saying any game Arizona can beat them, Alabama can beat them. BYU's a much better team than people realize. And then it's really like Houston or Tennessee. I think Houston's the better team. So I think we're at a point now. It's not what I picked in my bracket because I just couldn't get myself to do it. But we're at a point now where I think all number 1 seeds is a really legitimate possibility.
So I have one more general question about the tournament, and it focuses on, again, we go back to Cinderella Dior here in Arkansas. Of course, they're the only double-digit seed that make the Sweet 16. And as you mentioned, they don't feel like Cinderella, but hey, they get to ride that party ticket, at least for this year. What are the chances that they can continue to surprise and get to the Final Four? I know they have a tough road, but it is against, at least in the first game, it is against a team that they are quite familiar with.
I mean, they're certainly. I mean, I don't know how familiar they are with Texas Tech, but like they're a talented team for sure. We've got to see what happens with Adu Thiero. Is he coming back? If so, that changes their upside. It also is another reintegration, just like they had to bring back Boogie Flan and get him comfortable in the lineup. So there's a lot at stake. But I mean, there's no question this is a talented team. It's one that in our writing for years of Giant Killers and Bracket Breakers, we used to call a Wounded Assassin, a team from a power conference that lost a lot of games, maybe gets it together late in the season, has been battle tested, and is just better than all the losses showed. We'll have to see. Like, they beat a good Kansas team. They beat St. John's team that's very good but couldn't shoot. What happens when a team shoots well against them? I don't know.
Hey, I got one last question for you. As someone who's known Jon Scheyer for many, many years,
you keep trying this every. I'm not gonna. All right. Where are we going?
I promise you, it's good. I promise you, it's good.
As someone who's known Jon Scheyer for many, many years, I want to get your take on his post-game press conference and the way he broke up. I mean, he was legitimately tearing up. He couldn't talk for a good 10, 15 seconds, reflecting on Tyrese Proctor, who, to some extent, one of the first guys he ever recruited, and the guy who's been with him the longest now on this team, and who's ridden with him all 3 years. And you can almost make an argument that, if their first year, if they maybe exceeded expectations a little bit, some of that was Tyrese exceeding the expectations. Their second year, they came up a little bit short in terms of some expectations. They struggled when Tyrese struggled. And this year, Tyrese is now having one of the great runs by any shooter anywhere over the past couple weeks. And Scheyer was moved to tears. What's your feelings about all that?
Yeah, I always thought the only thing that could move him to tears was when he was forced to talk to me. So this was a better, it was nice to see that something else could have an effect on him, and it wasn't a negative reason. It was certainly a very human moment, and it was like, I was kind of glad that he felt comfortable to be that emotional. I think about, like, remember when Coach K cried after Hurley and Thomas Hill's last game against Cal?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm just going to miss coaching these guys. Like, we live in a very cynical world, very cynical. And I'm sure people were saying whatever they want on Twitter about that. To me, it's like a nice testament to, in this upheaval of college sports where it seems to be all about NIL and, everything else, and they're professionals, that, like, the relationships still matter, that, like, working with these guys for the period you have them matters. And I think it was very clear that John felt very connected in his own career path with Tyrese Proctor. They've been through a lot together. They started out together, and, I think John was alluding to sort of Tyrese coming in early as being a help to him, right? Like that first year. So to get where he is today, for both of them, there has to be a huge human connection. So I think it was a really nice moment, certainly a likable moment. And it's nice that this sport can still drive those emotions.
One of the reasons that we don't have those emotions that often is because guys don't tend to stick around that long. There are a lot of people who saw that press conference from Jon Scheyer were like, that's Scheyer kind of saying goodbye to Proctor. Folks think that, Tyrese is probably, especially with the show he's been putting on lately with his jump shot, that more likely than not, Tyrese is going to go ahead and check out the NBA. It's just such a pity, I think, that coaches don't get a chance to have these relationships. I don't know. I'm not asking it. Go ahead.
There was one person I wonder if he's seen that yet, and if it impacts him going forward, and that's Caleb Foster, because Caleb's probably had even more downs than Tyrese did. But remember, Proctor wasn't starting for a good piece of last year and really struggled and we've sort of seen Caleb coming out the other side now. In fact, the fact that he was the first guard off the bench ahead of Isaiah
big
Evans,
deal.
He's found a way to contribute on this team that is not the same way it was but the funny thing is, you're starting to see other things from him that he wasn't doing at the beginning of the year. He's got more burst, and I wonder if we also underrated just how long it took him to get fully healthy and how much time he missed over the summer still, because I'm seeing more bursts go into the basket. Still some questionable decision-making, but also his pressure on the ball matters. He gives them something they don't have. And you could just sort of feel that if he sticks around to build off this, he could do something special next year. I have no idea what he wants to do at this point. I have no idea what other guards Duke's going to bring back. I don't know what that relationship is like, but couldn't you see a similar sort of situation where a year from now, John Scheyer's reminiscing about all he and Caleb Foster have been through and where he is as a player?
I mean, I'd love to see it. I think it's pretty unlikely, but I've said this before. I forget if I've said it on this podcast. I've said it to so many other people. I think it'd be a little bit scary for John Scheyer next season to have a freshman in Caden Boozer, who's, top 20-ish freshman, a really good player, but not someone that you go, that guy's definitely an automatic starter at point guard. And Caleb Foster as his only point guards. And if John Scheyer is going to go out and get another point guard through the portal, which would be the most likely place to do it, if you're Caleb Foster, are you really comfortable risking a small role again next year that you could potentially be the third string point guard? I don't see how it fits together, but
I think
that's off-season speculation.
Yeah, let's deal with the offseason mostly in the offseason. But what I would say is this: like, there's no guarantee a whole bunch. It's not like they have a lot of guards coming in, and you know, Caleb Foster could just as easily be your off-the-ball scoring, dynamic play, right? Like, he doesn't necessarily have to be a point guard. Or this year, they're basically playing without a true point guard. That seems to be he's building a positionless model. But my theory in this case would be like a Foster Evans backcourt, if they both come back, would be pretty damn good and pretty dynamic with Caden Boozer off the bench. That maybe, in the portal, you add more of like a solid, steady fourth guard type than someone who's going to, I think that team you could be comfortable with. But for another time.
Last note on John Scheyer and the comments he had on Tyrese Proctor. I wonder if it's just the fact that, he's a third-year coach. He hasn't had the chance to kind of be retrospective about a player because, you're not being retrospective about a player who's been there a year, right? You have to have someone who has longevity, and in the rotation, Tyrese Proctor is the one that has done that. And I think also he mentioned the fact that he was the first player that he picked up the phone to call and kind of said, hey, can you come to Duke a year early, right? And so he understands that relationship was kind of built before that to be able to have the trust to say, hey, I would like you to skip the rest of your high school career and come play for me. But I wonder if it's it also could just be not necessarily a recruiting tool, but just a message to those out there that, hey, you may be in your second year, you can stick it out at the school that you're at right now. You don't have to hit the portal every single year in search of what you want, because the grass may be greenest where you are, and the relationship could be worth that. As you say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. That journey could be with a coach in one spot, and maybe that was kind of not necessarily an underlying message, but one that can be taken from.
I mean, look at some of the Duke players who've transferred elsewhere. Like, the grass certainly wasn't greener in a lot of those spots. Now, some of them may not have really had an opportunity to come back also. But like, I was thinking about what you said about not having had an opportunity to coach someone that long, right? If we went back, we should go back and count the number of different players who have played for him over 3 years. It's phenomenal. And then go back to like 20 years and how many different individuals were with K over a 3-year period. It's just like, I think each season, what was Coach K's book? A season is a lifetime. What now, like, a season is like 5 lifetimes. Like, it must age you because you're just almost starting over every single year. That I do think, like, to be able to hang your hat on, like, oh, I've been with this guy this long, it stands out for how different it is. Like, honestly, if I went and I quizzed you on rosters, post-COVID Duke rosters, like, I think you would have trouble naming the full roster. Whereas if I asked you guys the 2000, 2001 roster, you'd be able to give me the walk-ons because they were there so long. Like Jamean Brakefield, right? Like, is technically a Duke transfer playing for Ole Miss. Like, we saw that dude play like for 1 year in empty arenas with like people wearing masks, and like that team's like gone from our like collective memory. Like Jalen Johnson, like
Henry Coleman. Yeah, we talk about some of the players in division, but like that team is
the fact that team ever existed. Like DJ Stewart played at Duke. Like that team the year after, like it gets super. The year before with like the Vernon Carey team, which we never actually like put a bow on. It's sort of like they're ghosts who like kind of played for Duke, but not really. And it's still hard to like even as this has got sorted out. Like, what is your memory of Jacob Grandison or like?
Oh my God.
Like it's like that dude was playing a key role 2 years ago, and
yeah,
and like obviously, I think just based on this team's success, a guy like Sion James and a guy like Mason Gillis is going to leave a more lasting impression. But it's hard as a fan to develop relationships with these guys the way students and fans did in every other era. And so I can only imagine how more magnified that is as a coach.
Well, I mean, Jamin Brakefield,
Coach K, when he did his last game, they mentioned that he had coached 282 players in 42 years of basketball at Duke. John Scheyer could reach that in 15 years, right? Like, it's just the number of people coming in and out through no fault of anything other than that's just how the world is right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Jamin Brakefield and Henry Coleman have now spent 4 years at other schools, at Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Yeah, like to say that they've faded from memory is almost an understatement. It's a pity. Two guys that we were excited about. We liked them a lot, but it's a strange world. Whereas
again,
Sion James,
global pandemic had something to do with the strangeness too, to be honest.
Yeah. But like a Sion James plays 4 years at Tulane. The college basketball world's going to remember him for his 1 year at Duke.
Right.
So that's, Anyway, all right. Always fun, my friend. Great stuff, Jordan Brenner of The Athletic, of the Underdogs podcast on the DraftKings Network. Thank you. We love having you on. We will chat with you some more soon.
Let's hope we have an opportunity to do this again.
We will.
Deal? Okay.
I have a good feeling about all this. We will.
Yeah, because your good feelings are never wrong.
Yeah, right, exactly. When's the last time I sat here with a bad feeling? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Duke's a 6 seed. They're still making the Final Four. All right. For Jordan Brenner, I'm Jason Evans. That's Donald Wine, and this is the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.
You feel good?
Yeah. I don't know how you could not feel. I mean,
because I just naturally get very nervous. And
you are a pessimist.
I naturally don't.
I was
I'm
nervous.
never nervous.
I was nervous at Baylor. They're losing 24-23 and balls aren't bouncing the right way. And I'm sitting there thinking like Cooper's got 2 fouls and
we didn't get to it. And Donald, we didn't even get to it on the recap, but like after the opening basket, Cooper picked like with the cameras didn't even catch it. Cooper picked up some random foul, like pressing them in the back, a one-man press in the backcourt. I was like, Coop, what are you doing?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
That could be, if he picks up if I was Baylor, I would say the next 5 possessions don't matter. We're picking up a second foul on Cooper Flag. We're going at whoever Cooper's guarding will go at the basket on him. If we score no points, it doesn't matter. We're picking up a second foul on Cooper Flag. If I was Scott Drew, that's what I would have done in a heartbeat.